Perhaps the Gordons might have been louder, but Into the Void were piercing. I think that's the word.
Heavy metal, influenced by Black Sabbath, Into the Void.
Assuming anything about Into the Void is important, I think probably it's that they're a Christchurch artists drinking club.
Settle down and
come on everybody, come with me. We're gonna serve the bourgeoisie. We're gonna serve the bourgeoisie.
They didn't sound like anything else I'd heard, and I was pretty damn impressed by them. I'd always thought of them as comedians rather than a band.
Part of their plan may have been to get regular bar tabs, but even that might be flattering them. I mean, I've never sat down and discussed them. What the hell do you think you're doing?
Believe me, Christchurch has got a pretty lively music scene. Covers everything from the hard edge of Hammerack to the jazz glam, you name it, of Into the Void. Yep, Christchurch really has got it all.
I don't know if Into the Void's really an art band, but I kind of think they all met each other through art school.
Ronnie was doing film, and I was making sculptures. Jason was in the printing side of things. I walked into the room and there's a guy over there drawing pictures of skulls, listening to heavy metal. That's my kind of guy.
We started egging each other on, oh, it'd be good to start a band or something. Well, the more people poo-pooed us, I thought, you ain't gonna start a band.
Fuck them.
Yeah, fuck them. So we went out, we bought a couple of dumbweed practice amps and this really horrible guitar, which I love, but it's destroyed now, called the Leg of Lamb. So there's us horribly strumming on these fucking things, trying to see if we could get anything like a sound out of it.
They ended up coming up to the practice rooms they used to play up here, and I started having a few plays with them, and then Ronnie turned up and picked up a microphone, and all of a sudden we were a band.
It wasn't, I think at that time it wasn't even like it was, didn't seem to be much intention about even playing live. It was just sort of something to do on Saturday night.
Well, I guess it was the 80s. In the 80s, people amused themselves by changing cigarette brands.
Yeah, well, Christchurch was like in the 1950s, you know.
Past the daffodils, through the park, tree-bordered, green-banked, the Avon flows. A small...
And there's nothing much else to do, really, and pubs closed at when, 10 o'clock.
Genius cunt. All right, Steve. You got the spot, Flames. go.
There wasn't much else to do. You know, it was great to get into a band and learn to play an instrument while you're in the band. You know, I think that's a really important part of the bands like Into the Void and bands I've been in, is that you actually got good at playing your instrument while you're in the band.
My best friend at the time, a young chap called Paul Wilkinson, we used to go home and play pool after school at his place, you know, get the cookies and the juice from, jungle juice from his mum and hang out, and we had listened to Bachman Turner Overdrive, Pink Floyd, Patti Smith Easter, Led Zeppelin 1, Iggy Pop The Idiot, Boomtown Rats, Wishbone Ash, Machine Head. And the killer blow for me was Masters of Reality by Black Sabbath. And when I heard that, you know, literally when I heard that cough, Ozzy coughing and Sweetleaf, it was a devastating blow. You know, after tea, I'll do my technical drawing homework, listening to music, and then I guess I'd kind of relax by doing these really sort of fantasy-driven, you know, it's like album cover art. And I was hooked. I mean, it was just natural. I'll see little differences in people's faces. Classic example is this one, right? Which I'm still obsessed with, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Sarah Michelle Gellar. That photo is from a still in a movie. There's the glint in the eye. There's the mouth going at the point of what the fuck is going on. That's what she's thinking, what the fuck. So that's what the fuck, you know. That's her. Same face. So she's gonna go into the bath. So the soaking just makes the paper malleable. And it also does something to the way it clicks up there.
Well, you know, there's a kind of attraction to the dark side, you know, the Prince of Darkness, we used to call him, and because he made Prince of Darkness. I think there's a certain attraction to that genre, and which I am as well, and it's sort of like horror and whatever, all that stuff, monsters and stuff exists. It's part of you know, being a human being, and they're kind of things that start in childhood and that you take with you as you get older. You know, the fear of things. You know,
the printmaking encompasses the bizarre, the grotesque, the dance macabre, and there's also European symbolism. One of my favourites is Felician Rops, Belgium artist, satanic or demonic eroticist. So there's lots of big cocks and balls and twats and fucking Satan and women, you know, getting it off with Christ and giving them blowjobs and fucking hell. So there's heaps of shit, you know, anything that's got, you know, is a bit bent and it's sort of in your face, you know, just basically just, you know, kind of like thrusting the vulgar side of humanity into your face, I'm up for having a look at. There's nature that everybody thinks is fucking beautiful, isn't it wonderful? Isn't the sky beautiful? You know, and you're looking at your wee cat, and isn't he lovely? And he's gonna go and bite the head off a fucking bloody pigeon somewhere. It's all, you know, this fucking throbbing fucking mess of positive, negative, fucking AC/DC. It's just, I can't sort of escape it. The only way I can get it out is this. You know, I would be fucking nuts if I couldn't fucking draw it. actually does look kind of cool, just the way it is. So I might just paint it and walk away for a while and think about it.
I personally can't help but see one of Jason's prints when I see Into the Void playing, and it's a bit like a very dark print where light is trying to get out.
He used to have this chain around his neck. Was it plastic or was it real?
Did he have that?
It was plastic. It was plastic.
Thank you, memory. What was that?
It's from the garden shop.
It's from the garden shop.
I think, I don't know what's more menacing, Jason's guitar or his stare, you know, I don't know, you know, they sort of go together. There's this kind of, you know, with every strum, there's this look into the audience, dark look, you know. It's pretty awesome.
I've got a fucking disease, and it's called heavy metal. And that whole heavy metal thing with me fucking taps into a whole bunch of sort of psychological, archetypal myths, the hero myth, the fucking, you know, love and fucking death, sex, birth. Fucking, you know, great big ships on stormy seas. I don't want to be in a little fucking paddle boat going up the fucking Avon on a sunny afternoon. I want to feel the rain whipping my flesh away, right? So we make heavy rock.
You know, in recent times, I don't know whether they realised it. They always thought they were great, but I think they realised that other people thought they were great, and I think more people thought that. So yeah, and I think that shift was from when Dave joined.
Well, I joined the band when they had their 10th anniversary, and James and I have been playing in Fence for a while by then. And we were quite often the opening act for Into the Void anyway, so I was around a lot.
So he came from the Prodigies, who were a little bit more pop.
Yeah, they were.
Had a pop aesthetic, so it was interesting throwing Dave in there.
Well, I started working at record stores pretty much soon after I left school. Then left and just played in bands full-time for a few years to try and make it big. That didn't work, so I went back to record stores. I bought Galaxy Records in 1993, 20 years ago.
I have to say, any man who can and will actually run an independent record shop in the 21st century he's a stubborn son of a bitch. You have to give him that. You know, total admiration for him. You know, good on him. He's a public benefactor.
A lot of local bands and musicians and DJs and things do kind of frequent the place, but I kind of like the aspect of having a shop where people come in and then they have to interact with each other, and you know, they can actually like recommend things to each other that they've never heard of before and end up really liking, and you would never get that really if it's just on the digital world. I suppose it makes it a bit more of a cultural hub that way.
Dave's serious. So Dave's very serious about band practice. So he was the one that actually got them. I would say the one that got them there is, you know, got them off the bar stools and got them to the practice room. And, you know, I'm sure everyone said he gets them to the gig on time and makes sure they schedule, makes them practice.
He's the sergeant major. He's in the film world, he's the first assistant director, and you have to run everything past him to see if it's okay or not. He's in charge.
He worries about things for us, so we don't have to.
He kind of does bass lead in a weird way. Because we've never known what we're doing, so Dave sort of fills in on the bass to a degree. Yeah, no, Dave's very intuitive, very precise with things, but he loves letting go, and I think that's what he likes Into the Void too, where it's not so, well, this goes there, this goes there, this goes there. It's like, this goes anywhere.
Yeah, Ronnie's lived in Melbourne, so has James for quite some time now, so they're not in town. And we just decided that we would carry on playing without Ronnie, but be a sort of a different entity. So the band would be an instrumental band and play instrumental shows without vocals. And Paul could provide vocals and sample sounds and words and things just by doing his radio work and playing records.
I'm interested in things that are a bit broken or not really functioning the way they should function. Yeah, I've got a couple of sort of digital things, and I can't work them out because they don't have the tactile. I quite like knobs, so I'm interested in knobs and levers, switches and sliders.
What would you say Paul actually does in a band? What is it?
Fuck all!
Paul, from my first knew him, was very experimental. Was interested in experimental music, and so he kind of like a history of that, and so he kind of gradually just incorporated that aspect into the band.
The voice changes. If I used the radio, not only did I not know what station I was going to pick up, I didn't know whether it was even going to work or it was going to sort of suddenly make a squeal. So that sort of broken aesthetic.
A lot of people say to me they never can hear him when we're playing, and a lot of the time he is actually getting records and just like making a noise with them that sounds like another guitar playing, and lots of people think, oh, you can't hear what Paul's doing at all because they're so used to hearing what a normal turntablist would do.
Never really hear him. I don't ever hear Paul. I can see what he's doing, but I can't hear it.
Does he know that?
I don't think he gives a shit. I don't think he cares.
And sometimes when I think I've heard myself really, really well, people say, I couldn't hear you. So, but it's the not hearing. I don't want people to consciously hear what I'm doing. It's sort of, it's adding a layer, a texture, yeah.
A long, long time, so...
I think I was interested in records before I knew about hip-hop and that whole turntablism thing. I'm not being a DJ, and I don't know how to do that thing. That thing. I've tried it, but it doesn't kind of do it for me.
mean, he does crazy things. I mean, he'll collect things and we think, you're a nutbar, man, you've collected all those cans. He's only collected them so he can record himself crushing them as he's walking over them. And then he'll put that on a loop and then he'll fuck with that.
So, if I want to go acoustic, you know, I've got all the... I think I bought these at a Rudolf Steiner fair.
It's the 2 degrees Kelvin or negative 2 degrees Kelvin. It's the background radiation. And what he does with that, that's the real important thing. And that's the reason Into the Void is different. It's our point of difference.
I was going to the subway a lot in 1987, 88. So my first memory is them massively loud at the subway. They just had that kind of filthy, sort of unhinged thing going on. Like I hadn't heard anything like them. Not in Christchurch. And it just thought that this is fucked. I was quite obsessed for a bit.
Yeah, and I met him at the subway. And we started yapping, and then...
What do you mean you met him? He was a cousin. You said you not
I met him when he was a
for years and
fucking
years and years ago.
adult person.
So he hadn't seen
Who was
him.
interested in music.
And did you know he was your cousin?
I did after I met him again.
But see, I don't know. You know, I don't have a cousin. I don't know how it works.
He seems to come from very much from the Bruce Russell school of like, I don't really know my instrument, but obviously knows how to get the sounds he wants from it.
James has to rely on 3 things: his wits, his intuition, and where Dave points him to go on the fretboard within a song.
I think I had lessons when I was 10 for about 6 months, but I didn't like the way it was so, okay, you have to play this chord, you have to play that chord. So I like more just mucking around with it. And I still can't play the guitar, quite frankly. I mean, I can play like me, but I can't, you know. I know like 3 chords.
James always, I can't use this, but he always really wanted to be in the band. So funny.
He says that.
Does he say that? Yeah, he really wanted to be in the band.
The worst part about that was like I used to really like going to see them. And I still miss that. Like you don't get to see the band that you're in, but you know, rats.
I was working at the Ducks and they were always there. They lived right across the road and I guess in those days, you know, they didn't want to waste money on power. So the bar was warm. It was pretty cosy, comfortable bar. People knew where to find them, which, you know, that's nice.
A lot of bands used to play at the Ducks, you know, because it was a good place to play and you got paid regardless who turned up. But I think one of the things the Ducks got quite savvy about was the fact whether your band was a drinking band or a sneaking, hip flasking kind of band.
We were popular with them. They really didn't mind booking us at all because every time we played, they made money.
Into the Void basically owned shares in the bar because they'd spent so much money over the bar on drink. and they owned, we'd worked out about 1/20th of the actual business.
Well, that's all they spent their money on. I think, you know, they didn't spend it on clothes. They just wore black jersey, black jeans, the odd check shirt. Oh, Paul was a bit more colourful, I guess, but, you know, that was the band uniform, so they had plenty of spare cash for beer and cigarettes.
They used to sit at the
line
bar.
up on the bar,
yeah,
have their pints in front of them, and heckle the bands.
Yeah, they were pretty ungracious to any other band that played at the Ducks. But sometimes it just felt like, you know, I wasn't that interested in many other bands that played there, so really it just felt like it was their space.
Yeah, now I look back, I think, God, they were really nasty.
Yeah.
They were so mean, but because they weren't doing it to us, we didn't really care.
Yeah, I don't think they heckled us.
Play some goddamn heavy metal, play some Elvis, play some Beatles.
Sing some Bob, James.
Well, I'm New York City.
Paul and Jason and Mark, just, you know, snobby pricks, really. Bizarre. Like, you know, every other band sucks. No, they don't, but, you know. Yeah, just, you know. Art school assholes.
Corpse clean, I got a clean machine. Engines pumping like a changing scene. Come on, baby, let's go for a ride. Come on, woman, let's see what's outside of mine.
They had a rather infamous manager at the time called Celia Pavlova, Celia Mancini, and Celia anyway.
Like all good managers, you know, she was kind of the, you know, your Peter Grant kind of manager, you know, someone pretty not to be trifled with. In fact, you know, standing next to her, people probably felt like they were losing blood, you know, just to stand next to her. Certainly your wallet got lighter if you stood next to her, so.
Okay, I'm here with Bob Malone. Finally, someone I know has turned up that actually plays music in this country that's still on BFF DJing and stuff.
We played in bands with her,
yeah,
we played music with her, and we were friends
Yeah.
and hung out and
Yeah.
fell out and hung out again.
Yeah, fell out, made up.
Fell out and then hung out again.
Yeah, she can still play anything and everything. Whatever she
Bass,
does, is she
piano.
does it really well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Move that guitar, somebody. Move, quick. Come on. What are you doing? Fucking around? No.
I'm fucking around.
Yeah, come on, please, Gibraltar. Get in the shot and get some glory. No, not on the stage. It's gay, that guitar. Put it over there. Move it. See, look. Awesome. Ouch. Sorry. Here we go. You all right? Yeah, don't worry. Ronnie's antics, mildly amusing. Celia Axelgrind are now managing Into the Void. It's not known when the band are going to change their name to Spinal Tap.
Gave us a lot of encouragement.
Love and encouragement.
She was really good.
A few times she played, you know, saw us play, it was like...
Yeah, she just came up and wow, you guys are great. Hey, that's great.
Oh, there's Into the Void, 7/5 in the review. Side 2 is Love Bitch / Devil Woman. This is the sound of being strapped onto one of those medieval torture wheels. Slow turning, stretching the victim to the limits of endurance, comma, remorseless grinding, consummate control, comma, yep, comma, it's that good.
Yeah, she came up to the practice room with us for drinkies. That was when we first met her.
Yeah.
Spied my pedals and
It was love at first sight.
yeah. And then one night she was drinking with Mark. I went and got some fish and chips. And then when I got back, she was my girlfriend. She broke my heart and the knob of my metalizer.
Did you love Jason?
Always, still do. Who wouldn't? You'd be dumb if you didn't. He's amazingly great. He's such a lovely person. For God's sake, that guy rocks. It's true.
Yeah.
There's nothing sad or pathetic or anything. No one's sad. We're just glad we... Hello, Andrew. He runs Power Tool Records. You want to know him too. He's got all this New Zealand music that no one's ever released. They're amazing. And every practice, I used to hang around in the practice room, sitting there, smoking away while the fire was going, listening and loving it. All of them. They are amazing.
If they were about the music, I think that they would have made more than, you know, essentially 2 records in 25 years.
This is the first album. This is the one, the Flying Nun one, with the 4 original guys, Mark, Paul, Jason and Ronnie, before Dave and I joined. And yeah, listen to it at your peril. This is the second album we did, second and last, in 30 years, well, close to. This one features all of us, all 6 of us.
That got released on our label, which is called Avoid Music, and but it was just basically a self-funded release for that one.
It turned out really well, and I can still listen to this.
Hi, we're Into the Void. This first song's called Love Bitch.
Oh, I'm not particularly going to write songs about, my personal life or, my relationships or, that kind of thing. And it tends to be kind of abstract, nothing, or just, meaningless, boyish kind of macho drivel, I think.
I mean, we've got more song titles than we do songs. It's like, how about this one? Yeah, that's good, write it down. We've only got like 6 songs, but I think we had hundreds of song titles.
Days, we used to send him a cassette recorded off a dictaphone that worked on 1 track only, and it sounded like and here's the new songs, write some lyrics for that. And he would. Well, I think, playing live in front of people, you're playing something right there, you're right, in the moment, but you're also getting the audience reaction right there in the moment back.
It's honest. It's really honest, and it's not...
It's not always approving.
There was a gig at the Carlton. I'm not sure that it was the same gig, but there was one where Ronnie was mic'd up via a telephone connection.
New Zealand's, we think, and we're sticking to the story, New Zealand's first teleconferencing gig.
They couldn't hear me at all, except in between the songs where all I said was, "Can anyone hear me?"
Well, let's not forget the Warner's gig where, we made the, plaster come off the ceiling, and I turned around and looked at you, and I thought you'd hit your nose with your drumstick because you were bleeding.
No, it's a bit of glass came off the top, way up in the ceiling and come down and cut me.
And there was some fucking dog there that did a great big shit in the middle of the fucking goddamn floor. Remember that?
It was just a review.
The thing that does sort of roll with a lot of our posters is kind of like the Into the Void logo, and that's Jason designed this in the shape of a love heart. It sort of got into this thing where we'd like to involve people that were famous that had just died, but not anybody famous that just died. Somebody interesting that maybe's gone, sort of been forgotten, or somebody that you wouldn't normally associate with a band poster, like George Best. Oh, this is Jason's favourite one.
I don't even know what the fuck that is. I mean, what is that? It's some sort of weird animal. So yeah.
I was approached by the Christchurch City Art Gallery, curator Justin Payton, to make a work for the 10th anniversary of the gallery opening. The process is that I had myself scanned in a 3D scanner, so that it creates a computer file that can be read by a machine that can cut it out of materials. In this case, it was made of polystyrene, which gets coated with a polyurethane coating, which toughens it up, and the main labour is involved painting it. So basically, I ordered something and it turned out. I tend to work on my own, and you're in your studio yourself, so I kind of use myself because I'm there. I guess it's just something I've done, so I've just continued doing it. Anyway, this is the studio. So I want to focus on doing some video stuff. So I've got my green screen wall. So I use my studio as my film studio as well. I have a lot of books about the UFO phenomena, the uninvited. And there is the uninvited 2. Horror movies, Australian pottery. That's kind of like, that's about the limit of it, really. I think I always kind of like had a kind of a fascination with casting things. I think it's a bit like kind of photography or something. So this kind of miracle that something comes out that looks like the real thing.
So is it sort of set already?
Oh, it's just going off. Yeah, I can't brush it anymore. This is supposed to be a kind of a representation of smoke, or the fume. I don't know if this is a scanned cast of a banana. Kind of like bananas because they're kind of supposedly funny because they're kind of like a joke fruit, and they look like penises or something. I don't know if that's the reason. Sausages as well, they're a bit similar. There are a lot of times you have a show, you don't sell anything, and you don't get a review, and that can be quite a difficult thing to deal with. You can keep showing, you keep having art, making art, and but you feel like you feel like you're a bit invisible. The work at the National Gallery is kind of about the moment when I got into art, because I'm kind of going, what was I doing? Was it a huge mistake? When I went from one world into another world, and I'm just going, maybe I should look at that moment again. Because I think you make those sort of choices when you're quite young, and when you're quite young, you're stupid. Because I used to play basketball, and I was in the basketball team. That was kind of like the thing that I used to do. I quit the basketball team and I decided I'd just spend my time in the art room at a moment, because it was the moment when I kind of went, oh, art is actually for me. I've entered another world.
Well, I see more of Ronnie's art than I do Ronnie, so, and because it's all about Ronnie, I probably see a great deal of fake Ronnie more than I do real Ronnie. There's a fake Ronnie, haven't seen him, haven't seen the real one for a while.
It's called Coming Down, or Coming Down, Coming Down.
How come?
So you can be coming down from maybe a party or a high, or you could be, or things could be coming down on you in a kind of bricks kind of way. Sort of living in a place that's pulled down or being pulled down, and it's been going on for so long now that it's just where you live in an odd way. You're living in rubble.
The building went from here, right? Because check that out. See that white thing there?
That's a parking meter.
And that's that bit of white there. And there's our band room. So right in front of us here was the doorway.
So that's where
Here's the front door.
This is this.
So you go up the stairs here to about, because remember we're going up, but we're just like
slight landing.
There was a landing.
And then further up.
And further up.
About here.
Yeah, another landing.
We turn. And then we go back up.
Yeah, but you've just gone straight back down again.
No.
You've got to go back up this bloody way, don't you?
Okay, yeah.
You go back up here to that other, well, probably would be the same as that other landing.
That was only about halfway.
Yeah, and then up
and then
again.
there's that other landing. We've got the windows along there. Up again.
Up again, and then into our doors would have been about here.
Yeah.
Start at the Ducks, go to the bottle shop, go to the band room, that's the start. Maybe plug something in. For years and years and years, every Saturday afternoon, that's what we did.
It was such a regular thing that Ronnie could fly in from Wellington or Auckland or Australia, and I'd get a phone call saying, practice, and I go, yep. He goes, see you at 4.
It was Manland. It was just theirs.
Lots of weed. Lots of weed.
This patina of cigarette ash across the floor. You wonder how you could sort of scrape away the layers and what you would find.
Big old sofa, fireplace, stacks of old records, and a mountain of about 500,000 empty beer bottles in the corner.
There was a kitchen, which was kind of disgusting.
Yeah, the toilet was disgusting.
Disgusting. Disgusting. Had no seat, stunk.
Remember, it was green. It wasn't because, it was just green with, it was fresh green. It was things growing.
Yeah, like you see in a river that doesn't flow very fast, and you just get that stuff growing. It's not moss, but it's one of those things, greeny,
liceny,
slimish, lichen-y thing.
Yeah.
It was probably a rare early Christchurch thing. We probably killed.
Well, I mean, when I say it's a fag, I don't mean.
It was like an oasis where you could a filthy oasis, where you could just go and sort of speak your mind.
Hey, now check this out. When bands like fucking Dire Straits and anything with the Rolling Stones go on a bloody gig, they complain about, oh dear, we've been on the road for so long and it's really hard work. And they don't have to lug the gear, do they? No.
That would be the heart of Into the Void, I guess, if you're talking about heart and soul. Almost how many members in the band, God knows, but 5th, 6th or 7th member of the band would be the practice room.
We were bloody lucky to have that space, and to have it for like 1/4 of a century was incredibly lucky.
The drinking was, you know, it was such a culture of drinking around Into the Void. It was part of the Into the Void experience.
But you've got to understand, they came from a massive drinking culture. Like in the 80s, everyone I knew was into drinking.
People were very, very drunk. And so there were times where there was tension, especially when Dave wanted to have a serious practice. I think the tension was really around the times when they had a gig and something important, and you know, some of the band members were too drunk to practice.
Buddy! Have a look at this.
Yeah, I mean, I was fucked, and you know the guys couldn't do anything about it. They sort of they tried in their own way, but I mean, if you're too close, I think you can't. And I was on a path. I wasn't going to be, you know, I'm a determined wee fucker.
Jason, like, you've seen these Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde kind of prints he does. That is Jason. That's the key to understanding Jason. He is Dr. Jekyll, this really, really good guy, you know, and he's Mr. Hyde, especially when there's a bottle of whiskey in one hand.
Outside of Into the Void, there was nothing. You know, Jason just didn't have any social life at all. It was just Into the Void, home, whiskey. There was sort of this weird blasé attitude towards it, and then it suddenly wasn't. It was like people were actually worried, and I thought, well, if you guys are worried, then it must be really serious.
The fact that everyone was drinking, I think everyone felt it would be hypocritical for anyone to confront Jason. And so, I mean, there were times when we or people tried to talk to him.
Because he's a mate, you know, it's difficult playing mother. Although, yeah, we were certainly looking out for Jason. I mean, you know, there was quite a few times we'd end up in the ambulance, you know.
Probably almost died about 3 times. On my birthday, when my divorce came through, we were up at the Wunderbar and I was absolutely nutted. And I was thinking, yeah, you know, my life's going to start again. I'll go out onto the balcony on the Wunderbar on a lovely night and have a look at the view. Got up on the balcony and, you know, sitting like this. And went, yeah. Cracked pelvis and smashed thing. God knows how I missed the railing. I should have been dead or have a, you know, broken back, neck. Finally, the sort of shit hit the fan, and like the game was up. That, you know, I couldn't hide it anymore. I think the reason why I almost drank myself to death is because I just didn't feel anything. I didn't know how to feel, and I didn't know how to, if I did, to cope. more importantly, perhaps. And that's why I really went for it. I fucking went for it, and I wanted to either feel something or die. And luckily I got caught just in time. I fucking felt some shit, and I haven't stopped sort of feeling.
Jason will never drink alcohol again, and that's not just because he's been told not to. That's because he doesn't want to.
I mean, thank God he did rehab and he didn't become a Christian. But it's almost like that. He's just a totally new person.
I mean, Jason talked about it, when he was in the rehab, that he was afraid that he wouldn't be able to make his work unless he was, affected in some ways. And then he, gradually realised he could do it better.
It's really nice.
So, number 7 in order will be... I mourn the drunken Jason, and I thank him very much for leading me here. I mean, what's been packed into the last 4 years is pretty... When I look back, it's like, well, what the fuck? Because the previous 10 years was a fucking desert. Desert of despair. Loneliness. Pathetic existence. And fuck all good riffs. There are a couple of... Then that was one thing. Jesus, getting back and playing the guitar. Holy mother of God.
After the big earthquake, the first one that happened in Christchurch in September, our practice room was hit really hard by it, and at that time we didn't know if it was going to be bowled. We knew all our gear was stuck up the top there. So Mark ended up just having to have some high-vis gear and managed to pass himself off pretty well as a possible engineer without anybody even questioning him.
Anything that looked new, I left there, because new stuff you can replace. So yeah, it was basically the instruments and the fenders that I got, and of course the drum kit.
Where's the door?
Well, the door would have been...
That's pretty.
The door would have been about
there.
here, because the steps came up, and then there was another lot of steps. So there was like there to there steps. So the door would have been about here. And so yeah, my drums would be set up there. See that wall you've drawn?
Yeah, and that matches...
miles away.
That matches...
It was really sad. I mean, that place was just... That was such a huge part of it. And even with Ronnie and James leaving town, the others are still there every Saturday, and it was their clubhouse. It was really, I just don't think it's really been difficult to find anywhere to replace it. It's irreplaceable. The band room is irreplaceable.
But I don't think things were quite the same when we moved out of there.
Yeah. That doesn't work very well on the border.
Just across here somewhere, wasn't it?
It was one of those places you think you're going to have forever. And, we didn't.
We found another practice room, and all our gear was there when the February 22nd earthquake happened. We were never allowed access to that practice room, and gear was saved by Urban Search and Rescue, who must have gone in there and just seen these guitars and things lying around and gone, this is a band, we've got to get this gear out for them.
You got 25 years worth of memories, that's kind of where it is. Doesn't matter about this shingle pit anymore. We're all still alive, thank God.
since we've lost any solid kind of practice space, which was just really important to how we existed, it almost feels like we kind of don't really exist anymore.
You know, these earthquakes really have shaken up just 2 band rooms gone. If we had kept that first band room, we would have had more gigs. We'd be up and running more often.
Interesting thing, we talked as a group, you know, previously about, you know, this is for life, Into the Void is for life. But I think unless there was a gig happening, there wasn't really a motivator to actually do anything. And it was kind of a weird dispersal of energy.
Into the Void got put on the back burner, and that's where it stayed. And I must be a pretty boring person to be around now. And I can't hang around them while they're sort of, you know, drinking or stuff. And I think it's just kind of a natural thing. It's almost a bit of a parting of the ways.
Things change, you know, and I think it just sort of slowly fell apart. It was more like erosion. You know, we'd never break up. There's no reason to, you know. We're not around often enough to. You know, it would never be a decision. Go, end of it. So we'll keep ticking along. But yeah, 6 personalities.
This is to go on the Picton War Memorial. This takes an awful long time, cutting sharply, you know, down to a sharp level, maintaining those flat sides in there. That takes an awful long time, and I have to do that by hand. I mean, you've got machinery that can do it, but you know, it takes the fun out of it. You know, it used to be done by hand in the old days, so do it by hand now. I always knew I'd be making sculptures, and I didn't, I guess, know that I hadn't worked out that I could make a living at doing this more commercial side of things, where, you know, fixing buildings and that kind of thing, which is great for bread and butter.
Don't go over.
The whole idea is that in an earthquake, the structure is compromised about 1 metre below ground level, and it'll rock in plane like that, and then of course halfway through, just where you don't want to cut, halfway through the keystones, there's a slipway, big stainless steel slipway gets put in, so that in an earthquake it can rock in plane and also out of plane in any angle, because these things can slip. So basically the stonework's been saved. Sweet. You don't make art to make money, it's the other way around, you make money to make art. So I've been quite lucky because I've been able to do this kind of thing, and then I can spank out of my own stuff, you know. Yeah, I don't know, I kind of like making something that nobody's seen before. That, I haven't seen one of those, what the hell is it? And then so you give it a name, and then they try and make that association, where it's just a cheeky name. I called that column over at Diamond Harbour Receiver, because I'm hoping to receive money for it. They all get Receiver and they're looking around, you know. Reminds me of a quote that Doris Lusk would tell us, and I think it's something Leonardo da Vinci said, and it's, the supreme misfortune is when theory outstripes performance. So when you've got an artist it's all concept, and yet they don't do anything themselves with their own hands, well, it's supreme misfortune. And I think it is, because otherwise it's, oh, well, I've got a good idea, make that for me, thanks, I'll sell that. Well, now, that's art. Well, that might be somebody's idea of art, ain't mine.
He's just, I think Mark drums like he sculpts hammers away at it. You know, he's a one-trick pony, but it's a really good trick. You know, oh, it's 2 tricks if you count the double. You know, as soon as he starts that, then yeah, it's the second trick.
This space here is going to be the new band room.
You're going to like spark up the old Saturday night practices again, then?
Why not? And we've got a proper pub crawl now in Littleton, so it's just fantastic. Bottle stores straight down in front, couldn't be better.
Who died recently?
Nelson Mandela.
Yep.
Lou Reed.
Lou Reed. He'd probably get the gigs. Yeah.
I reckon he should get the gig, shouldn't he?
Yeah.
It's fucking Lou Reed.
Yeah.
Well, we're playing at the Wunderbar, for Christ's sakes. And somebody has hyped it up. So, fucked if I know what's going to happen. There'll probably be a few more people than we've friggin' more bargained for.
Great, positive, fantastic. It's always good to catch up with Ronnie and James and then to make sound again, you know. So to us, it's kind of like everybody else will just sort of, you know, fade away. You know, it's more like fun.
I think it's fun because, you know, there's a certain part of it you can't wait for it to be finished. But there's that because it's you know, there's kind of like a tension. I think that kind of those sorts of tensions are quite what's the word for it? They're sort of addictive.
It's like the party you don't want to fucking go to, but end up enjoying. And there'll be a bunch of old motherfuckers like us. Balding cunts who hung around the music scene with longs, who still have long hair. Fucking hate them, eh? Oh. I have become what I loathed.
You know, it's just about sort of hitting the strings.
Pretty much.
Heavier or lighter.
If I make contact with the guitar, I'm happy.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
We'll get together, say we love each other in our own fucking ways. Some of us pretty obvious and demonstrative. Another way of doing that is putting up with each other. It amounts to the same thing. It's an act of love.
Take a trip, yeah, take a trip. Take a trip to the West Coast. Take a trip. Yeah, take a trip.
I've never felt anything as sort of powerful or as gutturally pleasing compared to being in the band, because when something's working in the band, you feel like you're part of a bigger thing. But the act of doing it in front of an audience and doing something so immediate, and it's right there, it's in the present. You actually are, I guess, yeah, it's like you're in the moment with your mates doing this big thing. And it's a really, really cool feeling. I've never felt anything else like that apart from the band. Yeah. How about you?
You queer cunt.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Cheers, mate.
I'll carry on being a nurse. You do your best in the art with us.
Yeah, I'll keep
trying.
Well, I'll pick up a guitar every now and then.
As Oscar Wilde would say, there's only one thing worse than being Into the Void, and that's not being an Into the Void.
Yeah. I was going to say living in Melbourne.
Have you guys suffered hearing loss?
Don't know.
Can you repeat the question?
There are no last words.
It is never ending. It goes till the end.
I think
It's not- that doesn't mean nothing.
No,
It
goes to the end.
It goes to the end.
Of course it
There's a
fucking goes to
problem
the end.
It's always ending.
It goes
Oblivion
to
and on.